Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sarah Melnick, and I am here at the National College Access Network, and I'd like to thank you for participating in this webinar today called Connecting College and Career Success, a Project Overview. And as the title of the webinar indicates, what we wanted to do today here at NCAN is to provide you with an overview of a project that we've been funded to do by the USA Funds. And we don't traditionally do this with some of our projects, but there's a particular reason that we wanted to make a very sort of public statement and do some public engagement on this, because we really want to know what our members need to know about connecting college and career success. And I'll talk a little bit about what we want, what sort of input we'd like from you shortly. I expect that I'll be talking for maybe only 20 minutes or so, and then I'll open up the floor for questions. And right now, everybody is muted, but what I'd like to do later is to unmute everybody and really have a discussion, because we do want to hear from you. I will later unmute you, and then I think the easiest way to manage this is for you to each raise your hand if you have something that you'd like to say, and I can recognize you. And if that doesn't work, then we can always use the question or the chat box, and then I can just respond to questions that way. I am recording this webinar, and then we'll be putting it on our website so that others who are not able to be here today can share, and hopefully we'll be able to get input from even from people who are not here today. So with that, I am going to, I think I am sharing my screen. Yes, I think I am sharing my screen right now. Yes, I think I am sharing my screen. And as I said, I will just take you through a little bit of a project overview and then get some questions. Hopefully I can, there we go. Okay, so the agenda for today's webinar, and again, I think I'll only need to talk for about 20 minutes or so, is to give you an overview of this project and talk a little bit about why college and career success. I will describe the expected project outcomes that will include some tools and resources for NCAN member and other programs in the field to help incorporate some career success programming and advising into the work that you do. I'll talk a little bit about the spring training and the national conference, which will both have focus on this new element of advising career success. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we do want to open this up to discussion. And as I said, I'll unmute you. We can use the hand raising and the questions box to facilitate some conversation. So here's a brief project overview. As I mentioned, this work is funded by USA Funds. And really, as we see it, the focus on career advising and career readiness is sort of the next paradigm shift for NCAN members. When we first started out as an organization, and of course, as our name indicates, we were really focused on getting kids access to post-secondary institutions. And then about 7 or 10 years ago, we started to help our member programs make the shift from access to success and completion. So it wasn't enough to get students into a post-secondary institution, but we needed to get them out on the other end and successfully complete a degree or a credential. And now the paradigm is shifting again. And what we are hoping to do through this project is begin to help our members make that pivot and focus some of their training, focus some of their interventions and services on helping to advise their students on career readiness, or to begin to think about with whom to partner in their community to provide those sorts of services to their students. This is a one-year project, so it's not very long time. We certainly anticipate that we will continue to cultivate and curate tools and resources beyond the life of this project, because we do see it as kind of the wave of the future, I guess, is that as our members work with their students, it's not enough to now just get them through a post-secondary institution, but to ensure that they can become contributing members of and employable members of society out on the other end. This project has a few areas of focus. They're not the only areas of focus, and again, this is why we want to get some input from you all at the end of this webinar. But this is kind of where we are at on the project right now. And again, this is where we'd like to get input from you on what would be most helpful to you as your organization begins to make this pivot, as I discussed. The first element here is career exploration tools and programming. And these can include career interest inventories and assessments, or soft skills assessments, both for middle school and high school students. So really beginning to help you think about what inventories or assessments are out there to help students see the connection between their interests and skills and course choices or choice of career major or post-secondary major or concentration, and then on to a career. So helping students kind of explore what their interests are and then the course of study required to actualize or to act on those interests. We also know that there are a lot of data sources out there, so part of the focus of this project is going to be to help the field know where to find data on specific majors and academic programs or degrees and credentials, as well as the future labor market and workforce needs specific to your community, so that you can incorporate this information into the advising that you do with students. So if there's a particular area of need or an industry that is forecasting specific jobs or skills that they will be needing coming down the pike, it would be helpful for you to know this as you work with your students. Hopefully there is an overlap between some of their career interests and some of these future labor market needs, but we want to help you understand where that data lies and how you can use it and incorporate it into your advising. Then we have, we'll be thinking about doing some work on work-related programming, and by that we mean information on how to set up internship programs or job shadowing opportunities, helping students by doing mock interviews or cultivating resume writing skills and job skills training. Another project focus area will be around non-cognitive skills training. So by that we mean helping your students work in teams, developing and cultivating problem-solving skills, building communications, oral and written communication skills, and building their sort of grit or persistence skills as well. And finally, an area will be around partnering with the business community. Of course, a lot of this won't be as effective if you don't have partners in the business community, because you want to not only understand what's going on in your community with those businesses who will be needing future employees, but also to helpfully give your students some real on-the-job experiences, or to engage businesses as role models, mentors, etc., to build some of these other, or to actualize some of these other project focus areas. So how will we do this? Or what are our expected or hoped outcomes or outputs from this project? Well, there'll be some written pieces, and we've already actually started developing some blog posts and some articles for newsletters, for our newsletter, and also hopefully to be placed in other newsletters, and pieces from other organizations. We will be developing some white papers and reports from the data and the information we learned from this project. And we will be putting together a website, and that will be published in the first part of January in 2017. There will be online opportunities, such as webinars like this one, live chats, and e-learning modules. Webinars will focus on highlighting some of NCAN members, some of the NCAN members that are already doing this type of work, and we have many NCAN members that are already engaged in career readiness activities. We'll be hosting some live chats, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the live chat format, we actually use GoToMeeting, to host almost like it's a conference call but with video capability. And the nice thing about the live chats is that there's an opportunity to communicate on the spot with your peers and other NCAN member organizations. And we found the use of the video camera to be particularly effective because it helps you, some of you already know each other because you've attended events or you just communicate on a regular basis with your peers, but using that video camera really helps create connections and facilitate networking between and amongst NCAN members. So we hope that you'll be able to participate in some of those. And then we will be adding at least one module to our collection of e-learning opportunities. And I'm assuming that many of you are familiar with NCAN's e-learning library that is free for NCAN members. You can take a look at our website under e-learning and look at some of the offerings that already exist. The e-learning library has been around for, I guess, a couple of years now and focuses on some of the training that you might want to provide to advisors. We have trainings on FAFSA completion. We have e-learning modules on cultural competency, around fit and match, and I encourage you to peruse that library. As I said, they are, at least for now, the modules are free. We will also have a number of in-person events. I mentioned earlier the spring training and the conference, and we will certainly be having conference workshops related to college and career readiness. There will be a pre-conference session on this topic. We had one last year as well, but there will be one offered this year in San Diego. The focus of the spring training this year will be on college and career readiness, and we're getting ready to announce some of the dates and specifics, logistics, for the spring trainings that will take place, strangely enough, in the spring of 2017. And our other hope is that we will be presenting some of our findings at other conferences. So we're not just focused on NCAN conferences, but we're hoping that and planning to do some presenting on our findings and the work that our members are doing in this area at conferences that are put on by our peer organizations, some of which you may already attend. So that's an overview of what we are planning to do through this work. And as I promised, I am going to cross my fingers that if I unmute you, that you'll all be able to talk to one another. And really what we want to hear from you is around, these are just some kind of prompting questions that I put together. Although I mentioned some of the tools and resources that we'll be developing, we really want the tools and resources that we develop to be of use to you and our NCAN members. So we want to hear from you on what is it that you need to start or enhance, if you've already started, this work. What do you want to learn in this field, and how can we at NCAN be of assistance to you as you help to advise and provide programming to your students in this arena? So I am going to, I've never done this before, but so this is a big experiment. I'm going to unmute you, I think. I'm going to do my best to unmute you, which doesn't look like it's being very successful right now. So I may not have been successful in this area. I thought I was going to be able to unmute you, but maybe I just need to, okay, here, I'm just unmuting all individuals. And I'm coming out. Okay, I'm changing my mind. I am keeping you all muted because it's going to get really loud, I just realized. So very sorry that I'm kind of muddling my way through this. But what I encourage you to do, if you have something that you'd like to share, is to raise your hand, and you can use that little hand icon to raise your hand, and I will unmute you as you raise your hand. So we'd love to hear from you. I'm also going to be checking the questions and chat box, so if you have anything that you'd like to pose or any ideas you'd like to share, please do that. Please do so either by raising your hands or by typing a question in the chat box. So I am turning it over to you now. I do not see anybody raising their hand, but would love to hear from you. And perhaps it's just safest to use, I thought I was being all, okay, I lied. We do have some hands raised. So I am going to unmute Ryan Grady right now. So Ryan, please share with us what you're thinking. Ryan, you can go ahead. I do not hear Ryan.
Oh, here we
Oh,
go.
there we go. There we go. Yes, you have to unmute yourself as well. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks, there. I appreciate all this that you're putting out there. I guess I work with first generation students, and sometimes what I'm noticing when I'm talking about career with my students, I don't work directly for a college. I work for a scholarship organization in the Bay Area, but is that a lot of times it's one step at a time. So when college is the step, they wait until they graduate until it becomes necessary to start thinking about career. And so I guess is there any work going to be done, I guess, in how to kind of coach students in juggling two balls at one time when they may not feel that they're ready for that?
First, let me apologize for the siren going on outside. And yes, I hope that through some of the career interest and skills inventories that we'll be not developing because they're already out there and developed, but through some of those inventories that we will be providing access to or recommending that you can use, that will be a first step in enabling you to help your students to think a few steps ahead. And I think the bottom line, and this may be played out as we continue to do research because we've just started this work in the beginning of November, is that it's going to be important to help students do two things at once and to begin to juggle a few of those balls at the same time. So if we start helping students understand, even as early as middle school, what they're good at, what they're interested in pursuing, and they're not locked in, of course, but it's up to us to help students make the connections between what they need to study in order to pursue a degree in those areas where they might have an aptitude or do express some interest. So I hope that we will be able to incorporate those sorts of hints into some of the advising that you will be able to do with your students. So that's a good point for us to keep in mind. And as I said, I'm recording this webinar. So we will be making notes of all of these ideas and suggestions, and we'll be able to be sure to touch on that. So thank you, Ryan. I'm going to unmute now Tony Leonard.
Yes, hi. My name is Tony Leonard. I work for First Graduate. We work with first-generation college students in San Francisco. And we fused our college and career success model a couple years ago now. Just one thought on the last person's question is to think of career success in terms of like as a high school student would be preparing for college, doing a lot of research in the first couple of years and then getting more and more serious about career in the junior and senior year. But my question or my response to the how can NCAN excuse me, be of assistance to help you advise students in this area, it would be great to see data of specifically what are the big and best things to do. Is it focusing on social, emotional issues with students? Is it doing mock interviews, getting into the specifics of resume, and also the timing? That is something that we're really working with. When do you roll out the specific components of career success coaching? So that would be something that I would love from NCAN. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I suspect that we will be able to provide some information on the timing for sure, because as I mentioned, we do have many members that are already doing this work, so we will benefit from the experience that they've had. And we can bring outside experts or additional outside experts in as well. What I'm not 100% sure, but it's certainly something that we can be on the lookout for, is kind of the best, if I recall the first part of your question, and maybe I don't, is some of the, not just the best, but like what is the most important skill to focus on. However, that is certainly something that we should, based on your suggestion, do some research on to see if there is sort of a hierarchy of skills that should and could be cultivated. I suspect some of them will be based on skills that employers are looking for, but we appreciate that suggestion. It's interesting and something that we can and will try our best to look into. So thank you for that. Anybody else have any questions or would like to raise their hand? I don't see other hands raised right now, but I'm going to check the questions box, and we happen to have a question or two that I'm going to need to read. The first comment or question is, I think it would be helpful, sorry, my office is in a place where I hear lots of sirens, so, because I'm like 2 blocks from the White House, there's always someone quote-unquote important passing by. So I apologize for that. So the first comment here is, I think it would be helpful to also have information about how to process the assessments with our students. So not just the tools, but how to help students understand the outcome of the assessment and to incorporate that into how they're thinking about course selection, career selection, etc. And that's an excellent point. That's Julia Logan who made that point. Thank you for bringing that up, and that's very important. It's not enough for us to give you a list of assessments and inventories that you can use. It's going to be important for us to help our members understand then how to incorporate those assessments into the work and advising that they do with students. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. This is a long one, so let me read through this very quickly. As resources get identified and built, examples of successful partnerships with businesses would be very helpful, so we can share them with prospective business partners. And this particular, it's Nalini, can offer some early successes from their affiliates at the Portland Leadership Foundation. So that's very helpful, and Nalini, we will definitely be calling on you, so be careful what you wish for. So thank you for offering that idea, and we will definitely take you up on that. There's a comment here from a member in Northern Virginia who has been engaged in career readiness work for several years has encountered some initial challenges in building and sustaining relationships with employers. Having a toolkit that helps you better communicate the return on investment to business community and a variety of experiential learning opportunity models will be very helpful. That is definitely on our radar screen. In fact, there have been some reports published recently in conjunction with the Lumina Foundation on return on investment in terms of investing in their own employees, but it also focuses on investing employees of the future. So thank you, Karen. That is definitely on our radar screen, and it's very helpful to have all of this in writing to remind us on a regular basis of what it is that you all need to help you be successful. I'm going to check to see if anybody else has a raised hand right now, and I do not see any hands raised. So if you have any questions, please use, and if you're shy, which is fine, you can use the question box or the chat box. I forget actually if it says questions or chat, but one of those you can use to make a point or to share some of your thoughts on what would be helpful for you. And while you're thinking, I'm just going to put this next screen up here, which has the contact information. So my contact information is at the bottom, and I'm working on this project with my colleagues Amina and Bill. So if you have any thoughts after this webinar, you can contact one of us. Just shoot us an email with what you're thinking, any ideas that you have. As I mentioned, we will be kind of pushing out some blog posts and webinars and articles on a regular basis, so we won't let you forget about this. And you know, this is not the only opportunity to provide input. Somebody asks a question. I may have missed this point, but are apprenticeships and employer partnerships with educational institutions also on the radar? They are definitely on the radar. Those are definitely workplace learning opportunities for students. One of the scary things for us at NCAN about having a project that is a year in length is that as we begin to do research on this topic, we realize how many areas there are to focus on. So we are going to do our best to do a broad brushstroke of whatever it is are the major topics in this field, including apprenticeships and employer partnerships. I cannot guarantee the degree to which we will go into depth about any of these. Some of that will be borne out as we continue to do this work. As I said, we're only 6 weeks into this work. But absolutely, we have been talking about apprenticeships and employer partnerships with educational institutions. One of the things that we definitely want to think about is partnerships with, given the understanding of future labor force and workplace needs, what does that mean for higher ed institutions in terms of the certificates or the certifications or degrees that they need to offer to students in a community so that they can churn out employers that will meet those future needs. So that concept is definitely on our radar screen for sure. I am going to take one more look as the next siren passes by. No one is raising their hands, which is fine. And somebody's also offered, or James, this is James, who's offering an opportunity to look at some examples of programs. So thank you for this. We will definitely be exploring some of the successful apprenticeships and employer partnerships that are out there. This is one with the Bueller Group out of Plymouth, Minnesota. So we will definitely be taking a look at this, and thank you for the suggestion. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to stop for just a second again and give you all a final opportunity to think through. If you have any questions, please share them now or comments. And as I mentioned, this is not the only opportunity to share comments. Here is
Muted. Unmuted.
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties here. The email addresses on the screen here, and you can find this on the staff page at on the NCAN website, are also opportunities when, if you have an idea, if you have a thought, if you have a question about this work, you can just shoot us an email and pose it. I'm going to do one final look through and see if anybody has their hands raised or their hand raised. I do not see any raised hands. Let me check the questions, and I do not see any additional questions. So with that, I will thank you for participating. I will be sending out, we will be sending out the recording for this webinar. We will be posting on the related website. That will be published until the beginning of January, but I'll try to get this out to you all this week. And I would like to thank you for your interest in this topic. Thank you for the great suggestions, and we look forward to continuing this work with you and for you. So thank you so much, and have a great holiday, and see you soon at a spring training. Take care.